Doom, if nothing else, is known well for its excellent variety of well-designed hellish creatures that plague the various hallways and arenas of the games. From the original game all the way to the newest entry, Doom Eternal, the assortment of enemies have captivated and struck fear into players young and old for over 20 years now, always pushing the boundaries of gaming hardware of their time, as well as the creative limits of how vicious and fearsome they can be. As Doom Eternal is currently ripping and tearing through its competition in the first-person shooter genre, we here at Gamingbolt have been having a great time examining every inch of Doom's lore and history. Most of this has been through the lens of the monsters themselves. Today, we continue that conversation with the diabolically powerful Arachnotron and the more dynamic, versatile Revenant. Kicking things off with the Arachnotron, this is an enemy that stood out quite a bit when it was alluded to with the final boss in the original Doom and fully unveiled as a more commonplace enemy in Doom 2. While technically smaller and weaker than its spider demon granddaddy, the Arachnotron is a formidable foe. Less dependent on organic compounds for its survival and functionality, the Arachnotron, much like its elder, is an hybrid of cybernetic, demonic, and organic systems that stomps around in Doom's various hellscapes, slaughtering anything in its path. As the Doom 2 manual describes them, maybe cybernetics wasn't such a great idea after all. Look at what the demons have done with it. It seems unfair somehow you're not the only guy in hell with a plasma gun. Fair point, as the idea of powerful technology ending up in the wrong hands has always been a disturbing and intriguing concept for us as we dig ourselves deeper and deeper of more advanced technology. The Arachnotron is the exact worst nightmare scenario we could dream up in this regard. The creature is largely a washed-out, brownish-gray pile of brain matter with a face that lacks any sort of emotion, yet somehow still communicates a desire to kill. The glowing bluish eyes pierce through its two shadowy cavities, which gives it a slightly mystical appearance upon closer examination. But this is contrasted greatly by the Arachnotron's metallic undercarriage that serves as the creature's container, a source of mobility, and their main source of attack, with the attached plasma cannon. They are introduced in level 7 as a wave of Arachnotrons after you dispatch the preceding wave of Mancubi. It's a pretty tough level regardless of what difficulty you're on, but it can be made much easier if you can manage to glitch your way to the hidden BFG, which is only meant for deathmatch mode. Despite the arachnid connotation with the monster's name, it never actually has 8 legs in any of its iterations. Some versions of the Arachnotron did have 6 and others had 4 legs. The cannon in the front of the monster switched to a tail in the back for the modern Doom games, giving them a slightly more scorpion-like appeal, but both look good in my opinion. The monster is powerful and worthy of your attention in battle. Thankfully, they can be heard from a decent distance most of the time, with mechanical stomps and occasional electronic hullabaloo, so if you're being careful and taking your time, you will likely know when an encounter with them is coming and you can prepare yourself, at least in the older games. The Revenant is a totally different beast indeed, a skeleton with a fair amount of exposed bone and muscle. The Revenant sports a nice double-barreled rocket launcher apparatus on its shoulders, which are their most immediately recognizable feature. Where the Arachnotron moves slowly and has a nice wide hitbox to aim at, this monster stands tall, slim, and moves around quickly. As they unnerve you with their battle shriek, they gladly fire an unlimited supply of their regular rockets as well as the ones that home in on their target, i.e. you. On top of that, they move with a deliberate pace and usually straight towards you, making them more of an immediate danger than likely anything else on the screen at any given time. While most of Doom's monsters can be pushed back in priority depending on whatever you feel like taking out first, usually if there's a Revenant around, you're going to want to focus on it first, as it will be coming straight at you relentlessly until you shut it down. This is a unique enemy in the game for these reasons, and perhaps needed the least amount of changes in any of the Doom monsters to fit in the new, more fast-paced games. Its appearance also has largely stayed the same throughout Doom's legacy. Even in Doom 3, where most of the monsters were made insanely ugly and colorless, the Revenant looks pretty cool with glowing green eyes, realistic bones, and lots of intestinal gore in its midsection. The word Revenant is actually a French term meant to describe those who return from death, and I think Doom 3's interpretation of it communicates that idea quite effectively. While Doom 2016's and Doom Eternal's versions went a little crazier with it, those also do a good job of bringing the original vision to life. Throughout all of the Doom games where the Revenant appears, it perhaps stayed closer to its original vision than any other enemy has. While most of the other enemies have seen a drastic shift in tone and gameplay mentalities throughout Doom's different games, the Revenant has more or less stuck with the idea of being the fast, sometimes airborne, meaty skeleton with rocket launchers that demands your attention. It is often the first monster you notice in a room, and if you die, it is likely the cause. Both the Arachnotron and the Revenant satisfy different styles of gameplay. The Arachnotron is a slow-moving hulking tank that can absorb lots of damage and dish out just as much before going down, while the Revenant is harder to hit, can zip right at you, and has the ability to turn the tide of any battle against any player who underestimates it. The Arachnotron is more cybernetic and dependent on technology for its effectiveness, while the Revenant is more organic and uses its skill and firepower to overwhelm you. They are formidable on their own, but together they can accumulate to a real challenge for even the most seasoned players. What one lacks in agility, the other can make up for in swiftness and dexterity. What one lacks in staying power, the other makes up for in brute strength. These are very different monsters, but they both certainly belong in Doom. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed and would like to see more, feel free to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell to ensure you'll be notified when new videos go up.